In today's video, we take on a Gran Turismo World Champion at Suzuka in the GT World Series Manufacturer Series, and yeah, this was a pretty decent race. So let's get into this and show you how it all started with our qualifying run. Now, for those that don't know, the Gran Turismo World Series runs qualifying like in real life. It's not gone through time trial like your daily races, and we're in split 2. I think this lobby had a maximum points of 390 something available, so some pretty decent points available. Now, this was slot number 3 of the day, so the final chance to get some points. We only are available to do 3 slots in GT1 drivers. Lower lobbies like GT2 and 3, I think they have pretty much the whole day to race, but in GT1, which is the top ranked drivers, that's A rank DR and A plus DR, you only get 3 slots available, so it makes this qualifying really important. As you can see here, we had a Subaru starting his lap right behind me, and that was a little bit off-putting. I didn't expect someone to start their lap that close to us. Maybe they like to have a car in front for a reference, but it was a little bit off-putting. But there's no slipstream, so in qualifying they turned slipstream off, so you didn't really need to worry. And at this stage, we're on a fairly okay lap. We're actually on a pretty solid lap at this stage, getting a little bit of traction through here. Could have been a little bit earlier on the throttle maybe there, but not too bad on the exit. And now we're going to work our way into Spoon Corner. Now, Spoon Corner is a very important corner because it works your way onto that long straight into 130R, so you really want to hook up the exit. And as we come through here, I think we made a little bit of a mistake as we go here. We drifted a bit wide there. Tried to use second gear to rotate it, and then it did bite in eventually, but it just slightly missed the apex. So maybe half a tenth to a tenth lost on this Spoon Corner going down into this straight. So fraction of time lost there, but overall the lap was pretty solid at this stage. We'd ran quite a nice run through the corners into 130R and carried reasonable speed through there, and now we just got to hit that braking reference just before the 100 board and try and rotate it in with first gear over the curb quite nicely, up into second gear, reasonable for a little bit of traction loss, but we managed to keep the power down, keep the car over to the right hand side for the shortest distance to the finishing line, and we actually go over the line on a 1 minute 57.017, which is a pretty solid lap. It's not amazing, but it was a pretty solid lap, and we were actually starting in P3 with that lap, so pretty happy with that at the end of it. And you can see there we're actually ahead of a Gran Turismo World Champion. Mikhail is out there in P5, so he is in the Peugeot, which I will state this, the Peugeot is not on the level of the Porsche at the moment on the BOP. Even though the Porsche has been downgraded a little bit with the BOP for mid-speed, the Porsche is still a pretty solid car. It's still got pace, so yeah, obviously that RC there not as quick overall on the BOP. But aside from P3, we were going with the mediums to start with. We have to use both medium and soft tyres in this race. Now, the majority of people are going to opt for the medium strategy because overall it was a little bit quicker. But we can see there P1 John in the Nissan, he is going to go with the soft tyre by the looks of it. You can see he's pulling away, and you can see by his fastest lap he was clearly on the soft tyres on the first stint. Now, the first few laps weren't the greatest for myself. You can see here we weren't really right up behind P2, not really hooking it up amazingly well at this stage, but we are in that slipstream, and with custom slipstream, as long as you're in it slightly, it should be okay. However, a big mistake out of the Spoon Corner. I'm not sure what I did there. It was like just got massive on the steer, too early on the throttle probably, and this is going to lose us a position to the Mercedes on our right. Now, Mikhail is going to try and go around the outside here. We're going to hold that inside line. He runs a little bit wider, and you can hear there was tyre screeching. I think he had a bit of a lag moment there as we went through the corner because Mikhail's connection was not the greatest in this race. He had quite a lot of moments of lag. You can see actually on the bars on the connection there. He's got 1 bar during this race, and there was quite a few incidents when his car was moving around quite a lot. It's happening quite a lot at the moment in this game. A lot of people are having connection issues, so I'm not sure if there's a server issue going on PD still even after the update. Hopefully not, because we want these servers to be running well, but there is quite a few people with issues. But as we go through the turn 1 there, we can see that Time Killer has made a little bit of a mistake in the Lexus and runs deep into turn 1. Now, that is a mistake that I think every single Gran Turismo player has done at Suzuka. There is not one single driver that can say they've never done that, but that obviously gets us back into that slipstream. Now, by the time we move up to lap 5 here, you can see the Mercedes is right behind Time Killer, and everything's getting very close. You can actually see on the replay camera just how close the racing is at the moment. We've got a group of 6 or 7 cars all within a second of each other. This was really intense, I have to say, to be focusing at the level that you need to focus on these races and try and hook up the laps as well. It is very difficult at a track like Suzuka that can punish you like Time Killer into turn 1, goes a little bit deep, and that's how easy it's done. Now as we come into turn 1 again, you're going to see there Time Killer goes a little bit too deep, and he's made the same mistake nearly again. You can see he runs the car right up to that curb, so that was very, very close in that incident as well to running very, very deep. You can see his car was sliding in there, so taking risks there in P2 Time Killer. It looks like he's really pushing the limits of that Lexus through that corner, and now we can see on the replay camera just how close this race is. We've got Mikhail Zal right behind us there in our mirror in the RCZ. The RCZ is a solid car in the corners, I think, but I think it just lacks a little bit everywhere else, maybe on the acceleration compared to the Porsche, but it's definitely not on the same level as the Porsche in my personal opinion. I don't think it's as competitive overall with the current BOP, but you can see it's still doing very well with Mikhail driving it, because he's an exceptional driver and he's able to get the most out of every car pretty much. But in this race we're doing pretty solid. We're in the down a position from our starting grid, but we're still in the battle for the podium, and that is the main thing here. We're still in a fight for the podium, and we're getting very good traction out of the hairpin, which is giving me nice ability to stay in the slipstream all the way up this hill and then get very, very close out of Spoon Corner. Now you can see as we come out of Spoon Corner here, we're going to go into the entry point now, using the gears to rotate it, trying to get as close to the curb on the outside without actually going over it and spinning our car. We're very, very close on this straight now. You can see into that slipstream. We've actually got a little bit of a gap to Mikhail behind us, which is nice to have a little bit of a buffer that, you know, if you make a mistake, you're not going to get punished too aggressively. So working our way up into 130R, this is the corner where you just don't want to understeer, clipping the curb, and now we're going to run up to that curb and have a little look down the right possibly. But yeah, it's really not worth fighting. At this stage, my aim really was to not fight. I didn't want to fight too much because I knew that John had started on the soft tyres. My idea was work with these drivers, let's get the medium stint as fast as we can, and then hopefully catch back up to the leader on the second stint. That's what I was hoping was going to happen, that we could really push, not let him pull away too much, and then get back at him on the second stint. Now again, going into turn 1 and Time Killer, same issue again. He ran a little bit too deep. You can see the car started to snap, had to correct it, and when he corrects it, obviously he runs wide. So that's going to drop him out of this podium battle slightly now as I move up into P3 and the Mercedes in front of us there into P2 and Mick out into P4 behind us. So very, very close racing. One mistake, that's all it takes. At a track like Suzuka, you get punished, and that's why a lot of people do like this track, because you have to be so focused, pushing it to its limits, and just trying not to make them little mistakes like that. Now we made one mistake early on and lost a position, but luckily for us it wasn't as severe as losing the car into turn 1, and we're still in the race in P3 here. So going through there on personal best sectors, so the life and the medium tyres at this stage is still pretty good. I was running +3 brake bias with the Porsche. It's one thing that I've started to play with a bit, and I feel like it's a bit different at the moment with the brake bias. I feel like +3 now with the Porsche feels pretty nice at a track like Suzuka, especially on the medium tyres. So yeah, I think I'm going to start going a little bit more aggressive with this brake bias in races to try and preserve the front tyres for tracks like Suzuka. It seems to work quite well compared to how on Gran Turismo Sport I never really went that aggressive with the rear brake bias. It was always around 0 to +1 or -1. But now with the way the physics are in this game, I think we can start being a bit more aggressive with that brake bias as we pick up that slipstream to P2 here into 130R, getting very, very close now. But again, I didn't really want to fight this. You can see I'm going to the left because I'm letting him know, let's just get our pace, let's just go for pace. We need to be working well together here to give ourselves a chance of catching up to the leader of this race on the second stint when we go onto the softs. And you can see we've got enough of a gap to Mikhail that we don't need to worry about defending into the braking zone into turn 1. So it's all about just pushing, work well together, try not to make mistakes, and just try and stay in this group at the moment. As you can see there on lap 7, we do our best lap of the race so far with the medium. So at the moment we're doing all right. Pace is solid. We're in the 58.8, I think it is there on the medium tyres. It could be a little bit quicker, but it's not too bad here. Danny's obviously pushing that Mercedes there quite a lot, and the Mercedes looked all right actually. The BOP is actually starting to look reasonable on this current BOP they've done, because even at tracks like Daytona now, I think everything looks a little bit closer than what it used to. It's still got the power car advantage, but I do think now things are getting a little bit better with the BOP in terms of, you know, them outright dominant cars aren't as dominant as they used to be on the power tracks, and at the handling tracks it does seem a little bit closer also. So it is good to see the amount of variety of cars that are able to stay and race close together in this battle here. We've got a Mercedes, a Porsche, an RCZ, an Audi and a Subaru all in this group here now, BRZ there at the back. So it really does say something about the BOP that is actually looking pretty solid at the moment, considering this is on the mid speed as well. So fingers crossed, with a couple of little adjustments here and there, I do think the BOP is starting to go in the right direction on Gran Turismo. And even in Group 4, I think people are thinking the Alpha is massively overpowered, but we've proved that again multiple times this week, that the Alpha isn't as OP as you probably would think. And also, if you add in tyre wear into a race, I don't think the Alpha would be as strong as what a lot of people think it is. So again there, Mikhail having a little look up the inside there, but with the slipstream, he's not going to be able to go for a move there, so we know that we don't have to defend that. And again, we get quite a good run through 130R there, and we're able to stay right behind Danny here in front of us. And again, we don't really want to fight him, because I know at this stage if we start fighting, we lose time to the leader. And you can see we're only 7 seconds behind the moment. We're actually starting to level that gap off. You can see he's not really pulling away now as his tyres are starting to fade. So again, I could have gone for a move here, but I just decided to lift off the throttle, and then I can just brake a little bit earlier and then not use as much tyre life in the braking phase. So playing it quite tactical at this point. I don't want to be fighting with P2. I want to try and work with him and just keep these lap times going the way we're going at the moment. And everything at this point is looking pretty decent. You can see there with Mikhail right behind us, and you know, we're on lap 9, coming up to the pit stop phase now. Obviously, some drivers are going to pit at the end of lap 10. Some drivers are going to pit a little bit earlier than that, especially if they started on the soft tyre. Obviously, a lot of people are going to maybe pit as early as lap 8 and then 9, stuff like that. For me, there was an advantage to going longer on the medium and giving less time on the softs. I felt the pace was probably overall might be quicker for myself to do 11 laps on the medium and 9 laps on the softs. But at this point, it was all about just trying to see how the race is going to go. You know, with traffic, people going for undercuts. There's people that have already pitted in this race. You can see there's cars further back there. So there is some cars that have gone for early stops already in this battle. So it is going to be a very interesting situation when we go to the pit stop phase. Now at this stage, you can see I got very, very close to Danny, and I didn't really want to fight. I could have gone for a move multiple times here. And again, as we come through Spoon Corner, we get a reasonable exit using second gear to rotate it and onto that power quite nicely. And again here, we're going to pick up a really good slipstream. Now at this stage, I 100% could have gone for an overtake. You can see picking up the slipstream, but I decided to go for a bump draft. Now Mikhail obviously thinks against that and actually wants to go for the move, so he gets the inside, but we have got that slipstream and we've got enough of a car ahead there to hold it through 130R. So he needed to be a little bit alongside really more for that corner, but we had an advantage of obviously being a whole car length ahead. And again, into the chicane, we battle again, but again we managed to just about stay ahead. So battling really nicely at the moment, very, very close driving. And now we're going to try and get back in that slipstream. You can see already with the fight, and we've lost time to Danny there, and this is what we didn't want. Now I went to go defensive. I think we actually moved before Mikhail, but he carried that move on over to the right, so I felt if we move over even more, we're going to end up blocking him. So we just give that position up and let him tuck in between, because at this stage I was thinking this fighting isn't good. This is just going to lose us time. So we're going to get back into the slipstream, see how Mikhail's pace is in that RCZ. Obviously I know that the RCZ is not as strong as the Porsche, so we're going to sit in the slipstream and see how close we can get. Now one thing I didn't want to be behind Mikhail for is his internet connection, because with the 1 bar, we had a race with Lewis earlier in that day and we had issues with his connection as well, lagging all over the place and moving around in the corners, and especially in the braking zones it seems to like stutter a bit, and it's really off-putting when you're trying to get on that throttle. So as we come out of this right hand corner, you can see we get a good exit and we're really, really close to Mikhail. And then as we come to the braking zone again, like it did with Lewis in a couple of races, you can see his car kind of like pauses on the apex here, there. You can see it pauses and then it goes, and then you're going to see as we come out of the exit here, you're going to see his car starting to lag around a bit, and it is just a general connection problem. You see it there, it's moving all over the place. It's an issue that Lewis had quite a lot, and Mikhail with the 1 bar is having it in this race, and that's one reason why you don't really want to be near these drivers when they're like this. But yeah, I think it's partly a Gran Turismo problem, but we do know also that Mikhail hasn't got the best connection when it comes to internet, so it is an issue he's had for a while. Now the Audi goes for a little bit of move on the inside there, kind of squeezed us wide a little bit. There was a little bit of contact, but luckily for myself here, we know that if we sit in the slipstream, we're going to get that position back, because he can't really go for it. And he actually gives that up there. I think he maybe realised that the move was a little bit too aggressive and gave that one up. But this is where we possibly make a little bit of a strategy mistake here. I was thinking about pitting, But as we come through here, I thought Mikel's line was looking like he wasn't going to pit. And now as we go over there, I was convinced that that was going to be a 3-second penalty. To me, that rear left tyre looked like it went over the white line with the front left tyre. But I think he got away with it. So a little bit lucky there for Mikel. I think a couple of frames over and it was possibly going to be a penalty. Now, we come to the end of lap 11 after not the greatest stint on that last lap there. That the in lap was not the best lap. But we're hoping we're not going to be too far behind. And as we come out of the pits here, this was a bit of a disaster, I have to say. And I was a little bit annoyed at myself for not pitting because we've lost 2 positions there. We would have been ahead of the Audi, right up behind Mikel in P5. And at this stage here, we've actually lost the slipstream pretty much to Mikel's group. You can see there, Slayer's in front of us. I think must have pitted really early on a different type of strategy because he's managed to get the jump on us somehow. So I think what's happened there is he's gone for an earlier pit stop, obviously used the soft tyres, and now he's a little bit ahead of us, which kind of isn't going to work out by the time his tyre wear kicks in. So at this stage I was a bit annoyed at myself and probably getting a bit frustrated with myself. And you can see, look how much we've lost here in just time in terms of pace on the track. You can see there Mikel, and we know how good Mikel is on tyre wear, so that's what I was a little bit worried about, the fact that Mikel's up there, he's going to be good on tyres and he's going to be able to push away and be able to build up a gap. But we did manage to regroup and try and focus and get back into a rhythm, which is always quite hard when you know you've lost positions at a pit stop. But you can see by the time we get to the end of lap 14 here, we actually pulled off a really good lap to try and catch up. I was really on it at this point, and we actually went over the line with the fastest lap of the race with a 57.3 in the race trim, which I was pretty happy about, I've got to be honest with you. I felt like we were driving quite well, and you can see here by the time we get to the end of, well, midway of lap 16, we've actually caught back up into the slipstream, into the group with Mikel, that Mikel is out, is leading here. So some pretty good driving to get ourselves in this situation and back into that slipstream. So all is not lost at this stage. We were back in the battle for the podium, but just trying to get close. That's going to be the hard part now, because Mikel's in clean air, and we know how fast he'll be in clean air. So it was all about trying to get close. Now with the Subaru in front of us, very, very slow out of the hairpin corner. That was helping me get closer. You can see as we come through here, trying to get onto the power as early as we can on lap 18. And you can actually see just how much of an advantage the Porsche has over the Subaru there. We're able to gain, get closer, picking up that slipstream even more. And P4 looked like there was a chance here. It looked like there was a possibility of picking up P4, but we need to take our opportunity if we're going to be able to go for this. So into spoon corner, try and get a good exit off these corners. Now, one problem with that Subaru, the BRZ, is it's very, very quick off mid and high speed corners. It's very, very powerful on them exits, but it's lacking a little bit of acceleration, and it also lacks a little bit of top end. And you can see here, by the time we get to the straight before we hit into 130R, we're very, very close behind him, and we're obviously not going to go for a move there. But what we need to try and do is stay as close as possible out of the exit of this corner. You can see down to first gear, getting up onto the curb, and then trying to get on that power as early as we can. We need to get this moved on as early as possible if we're going to be able to get ourselves up into P4 and hold that P4. And you can see as we pick up the slipstream, unfortunately he's got the slipstream to the Audi in front of us, and he's going to be able to pick that up. He's going to go defensive. We're going to stay to the left and just hope he goes a little bit deep. But as we cut back here, you can see he's managed to hold that line really well. And that was pretty much our opportunity faded away there, because we really needed to make that move on into that corner. But again, with the slipstream that he had, as we can see Mikel in the distance there lagging around a little bit. You can see on the replay camera his lag's going all over the place. So yeah, a little bit off-putting for the cars that are behind, but he's got enough of a gap that it's not going to affect him too much at this stage. But looking at the replay camera here, you can see we're still trying our best to get as close as possible, and we've actually done quite a good job to get back into this battle, I felt, because obviously we do have one lap fresher tyre, which has helped, but still to be pushing back up into a group with the drivers as quick as they are in front of us, I felt pretty happy with that, with, you know, the new physics and stuff like that. We have made some changes to our wheel settings as well, which I do need to update into the description of my content, so people that are on the same wheel as us can obviously try and maybe want to use the same settings as I'm using. But you can see again, out of the exit of that hairpin, again the Porsche definitely picking up, and this was again going to be our last opportunity to get as close as we can. You can see they're picking up the slipstream. Got to get a good exit off spoon corner, and you can see here the spoon corner is a very strong corner for the Subaru. On the exit, he's able to really plant that throttle down and get nice strong exits. The Porsche pretty strong through there as well, but again we're going to get into that slipstream, and I don't think we're going to be close enough by the time we get to the end of the straight, so we're going to have to try and send it through 130R. This was the aim here, to really nail 130R and see if we can maybe go for a move into the chicane, but run ever so slightly wide there and possibly pick up a little bit of dirty tyres, and that was again a mistake that's probably cost our chance of going for P4. You can see there on the exit with the extra grip that Subaru had, he was just able to pull away, and then by the time we get to the last lap here, we did manage to catch back up to that Subaru again, even after that mistake, but again we're not able to go for a move. We're not really close enough to go for an overtake into the chicane. So overall, pretty solid run in this GT World Series round 1. We did well to get and stay with the group of drivers that we're with here, and we go over the line for a P5. I was a little bit disappointed with P5. I think if I would have pitted, I think we had a podium there, because I think we would have been ahead of that Audi, because it looked like we had the pace of the Audi. So yeah, quite annoyed at myself for pitting on lap 11 instead of lap 10, because I think if we pitted lap 10 with Mikhail, we had a podium. But still, overall, an exciting race, an enjoyable race, and hopefully you lot enjoyed that. We come away with 330 points, which is not too bad. Could have been a lot better, but still, 330 points is better than none. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and I'll be back with more content in the future. Thanks again for watching, everyone.